Moin Moin and welcome to Ralfs Foto-Bude. Today I don't show you a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Today it's up to show you a bridge camera or super zoom camera. There are four brands which are good in the market with super zoom cameras. That's Fuji, that's Canon, and the two major brands which are very good in the super zoom cameras is Sony and Panasonic. So the Panasonic FZ series with the latest one, the FZ1000, is one of the best-selling super zoom cameras. Yeah, and now we have a new star in the super zoom cameras, and that's the Panasonic FZ1000. So the question is, what can Panasonic make better than at the FZ200? Because the 200 is also a real good product. So the question is, what's better at the 1000? And yes, there's one major point for the 1000, which is a very, very good thing. And the new one is able to make 4K movies. So that's the first consumer camera, as far as I know, beside of the Sony's Alpha 7S, but I think that's a semi-pro camera. The price is very high. So this is the first consumer camera which is able to make 4K movies. I will show you a little bit later which options do you have in the 4K movie and which settings you can make and what are the main points for the 4K movie. Beside this, it's still a real good super zoom camera. We have a 20 megapixel sensor, 1 inch sensor, so that's a real big sensor. That's the same size like the Sony RX100 and the Sony RX10 sensor. So you have a real good option to make pictures with depth of field control, because the lens is also very good. We have a lens which starts with an aperture of f2.8 and goes up in the telephoto area up to 4.0. But 2.8 is a real good aperture for a camera like this. Looking to the focal length, it's a 16 time zoom lens, and it goes from 24 up to 400 millimeter. So that's a very, very good range. 1 millimeter less, 24 would be better than 25. But it's okay, 25 millimeter is also a very good range of focal length. What else do we have in the FZ1000? We still have the big monitor. It's a turnable monitor. You can turn it out and you can turn it into the front side. I turn the camera on, and you can turn it on. So you are able to make selfies if you want. But also important, if you make movies, you're able to control yourself in the monitor and you are able to see yourself in the monitor. So that's a very good help for videos if you are only a one-man show and make the videos by yourself. One thing I should mention now is, usually when Panasonic have a monitor like this, it's a touchscreen monitor. Yes, the FZ1000 doesn't have a touchscreen monitor. So that's one thing I miss at this camera, that's the touchscreen, because I like the Panasonic touchscreen very much, because you have the touch autofocus option, and at the like G6 and GH4 you have the option to look through the viewfinder, turn out the monitor and move the autofocus point just on the monitor, so you can focus very fast and you can track the focus very fast with the touchscreen here at the side of the camera. But no, there's no touchscreen at the FZ1000. We have an electronic viewfinder, and the electronic viewfinder has a real high resolution, 2.4 million pixel, and it's a real crisp, clear, sharp picture. No hassle, no smearing if you turn the camera. It's a very, very fast electronic viewfinder. I like this one very much. And again, I said it in some of my earlier reviews. I like the electronic viewfinder more and more. Usually I was a DSLR photographer and only go out with an optical viewfinder, but by these days the electronic viewfinders are so good and they have such a crystal clear picture, you don't see any pixel. So I like this one very much because you're able to make the settings of the camera without taking the camera from your eye. You can change the menus, you can see a lot of the settings in the menu. You have the quick menu, everything you can see in the viewfinder, even if the sun out is very bright like in the summer. And so that's a real good thing. And so I like the electronic viewfinder much more when they get better, like the one of the Panasonic here. Going through the different points of the camera, on the left top side of the camera we have the dial where you can change the different settings: single, serial mode, self-timer and bracketing function. One very important thing that I want to show you later is the setting for the self-timer and the bracketing function you make in the menu. So first make the setting in the menu and then make the choice here on the dial which one do you have, which one you want to have. Then we have the flash here. If you move the button here, this one, the flash pops out. And you can't turn the flash up to the ceiling, so you're not able to make indirect flash with this one. You have to use an external flash, and the flash shoe is here. Before the flash shoe we have the stereo microphone. Talking about the microphone, one very important thing the camera has, and that's what I like very much, is we have an external microphone jack. So you can put an external microphone on the camera. That's one point I miss at the GX7. The G6 has it, the G4 doesn't, the G5 doesn't have it, the G6 have it, and the GX7 doesn't have the microphone jack. And now in this camera we have it, so you can make a real good microphone to the camera and make 4K movies or full HD movies, and you also have a real good sound if you use an external microphone. We have the electronic viewfinder, and we have the dioptry control. On the right side of the camera we have the big program dial, starting with P for program mode, A for aperture, S shutter, M manual mode. Then we have the movie mode to take videos, C1 and C2 for the custom mode, scene program, and here we have the art filters and the intelligent automatic, where the camera makes everything by herself. Here is the button for the zoom, shutter release, the button to start a video, FN1, function button 1 and function button 2. Both of them you can individualize in the menu. Here we have the dial, and it's not only a dial, you also can press the dial. So it's a combination of turn and press. I will show you later for what it is good and which setting you can make with this dial very fast. On the left side we have the FN button 5, and you can toggle between the viewfinder or the monitor and the electronic viewfinder. If you doesn't have the automatic switch between them, because you have the eye control here, so it can also set up so that that it changes automatically if you move the eye in front of the electronic viewfinder. Here at the side we have the button where you can change between the different autofocus settings. We have autofocus single, autofocus continuous and manual focus, and in the middle we have the button for locking autofocus and auto exposure. In the menu you can set up this button individually, so you can decide whether you want only for autofocus or only for auto exposure, and you can set up if you have to press and hold the button, or if when you press it, it's saved, and when you press it a second time, it's released. So these are the two options here. Then we have the FN3 button, and the FN3 button is usually the quick menu. If you press it, you will have the quick menu, and that's the same quick menu as you have it at the other Panasonic cameras. You can make the settings here, so that's very easy. Just search the point you want, then go down, and here you can make the setting for the different image sizes. One good thing, you have the 16:9 image size small, and this one is exactly 1920 by 1080, so that's the native HD resolution if you want to make pictures for your TV at home. So that's the right resolution if you don't want to resize the pictures after you're back from your photo trip. So I go back to 3:2 and 20 megapixel. And that's a real nice thing. You can customize this, but in the standard setting, you have the most important things like quality here, like the autofocus setting, and the AF mode you can change. You have the metering mode you can change, and you have the exposure compensation, sensitivity, and auto white balance or white balance. So the quick menu is very nice. But as I said before, you have the option to set this one individually in your menu. Then we have the replay button here, that's the green one. Then we have the button to change the display setting. If you press it, you have the different settings here, and turn the monitor off if you make pictures in the darkness and you don't want to have you don't want to have light on the monitor. So these are the different settings here. You have a 3D level meter, and then you have the four-way button with a menu set button in the middle. On the top you have the ISO setting. Talking about the ISO setting, the lowest setting at the ISO is ISO 80, that's low, and the standard setting ISO is 125. You don't get the low values of 80 and 100 if you don't set in the menu extended ISO setting. So in the normal setting it starts with 125 ISO. Looking up to the highest setting, the highest setting is 25,600, and this is also the high value. In the normal setting or standard setting, you only get 12,800 as the highest ISO value. Left side white balance, here you have different options for presets, and you also have the option to set individual Kelvin value like here, and it starts, or it goes from 10,000 down to 2,500, I think, or 300. So you can make also the individual Kelvin setting if you want to. Going back to the auto white balance. Next point is the AF mode. Here you have different settings, starting with face eye detection, tracking mode, then you have the full 49 area mode. You have a custom multi, that's a real nice thing, I explain you later, and you have the one area mode and the pinpoint. And if you choose the one area point, you see we have the one area point here. You can move this one at a position you want to, and if you turn the dial here, you can change the size of the autofocus point. This is the smallest size, and this is the biggest size. If you are not in the program, just press the button, press the down button, and you're again in the setting to move the autofocus field on a place where you want it. Going back to the new autofocus setting, that's this one, custom multi, and in the custom multi you have a horizontal area which you can move from up to down. What for is it good? If you are making pictures and you have the blue sky and you have playing kids in the front or animals or stuff like that, and you want the focus on the front part of your scene, so that's a real good thing, because you see you can move the area down or you can move the area up. So if you use it in a scene like I mentioned, the kids playing in the foreground. In the background you have the mountains or the blue sky or something like this. Then you set the autofocus field here in the lower area, so the camera only looks in this area for autofocusing. So that's a real nice thing. I like this one very much, and yeah, I think that's a real good new feature the FZ1000 has. Next point is the autofocus macro mode. There we have different autofocus macro mode, and if we are in the macro zoom, then the camera puts the lens to a certain focal length, and then we have the maximum magnification. And if you look like here, you see this, you can go as close as this, only if you go closer, closer, closer. So you can go very close for in this mode. You see now we are too close, but this is also good enough. So you have a real good macro mode at the FZ1000. FN4 and back button is on the bottom. So these are the main buttons. I think the work with the camera is very easy. The buttons are well marked, and the design is good. The camera is good in your hand. Also, if you have big hands like me, it's very good in your hand. On the side of the camera, we have two switches here. We can change from zoom to focus. If you're in the focus mode, the front ring of the lens works as the focus ring, and if you're in the zoom mode, the front ring change the zoom, but you have to change here. You see, when I turn the ring, you can zoom, the lens comes out, and so this is the option for zooming. And we have here the button to turn on the OES, the power OES. Power OES, that's the optical image stabilizer, and you can turn this one on and off. So in the lens there's a stabilizer, there's which reduces the shaking of your hand and gives you a clear, crisp, sharp picture. Having a look to the menus, you put on the menu here with the menu bottom set, menu set bottom in the middle of the four-way switch, sorry. Starts with the photo style. You have the different settings here for the photo style. Then you have the rec format where you can change. Oh, sorry, I'm in the photo menu. I have to go up to the normal menu before. You have the photo style here, what I said before. Then you have the aspect ratio here. This one you have also in the quick menu. Picture size you have also in the quick menu. And quality also. Quality for sure. We have the combination of RAW and JPEG, only RAW or two different JPEG settings. Then AFS, AFF setting. We have the metering mode, 3 different metering modes. Then we have the burst rate. That's what I said before. Here you make the setting super high, high, medium, low. If you turn the dial here, you get the metering. You get the burst mode, which you have chosen here, and exactly the same is for the auto bracketing. Here you have the different options for the auto bracketing setting, up to 7 pictures with one step, with one aperture step. And you make the setting here, and you turn the dial, and you get the setting which you have chosen here in the menu. So that's very important to know. Here make the setting, here make the choice which one you have, single, serial, burst, self-timer, and again, here is the setting for the self-timer, 10 seconds, 3 pictures, or only 2 seconds. Very nice point again is the time-lapse and animation. So there you have the choice between the time-lapse and a stop-motion animation with different settings. Oops. Then you have the highlight shadow setting, and here in the highlight shadow setting there's the first time where I can show you how this dial works. You see the yellow part is the part which works now when I turn the dial. I press the dial. The upper part is yellow, and so I can change the upper part. Again, I press the button and we are in the lower part, so I can toggle between these two settings just by pressing the combination dial here at the camera. Eye dynamic and eye resolution if you want. Handheld night shot, IDR, HDR and HDR settings. Multi-exposure, here you can make multi-exposure settings, different multi-exposure settings. Panorama setting, I show you later how to get to the panorama mode, because on the dial there's no panorama mode, so you have to go in the scene program to get the panorama mode. I will show you later. Shutter type, yes, also this camera has an electronic shutter and a mechanical shutter. We are now in the mechanical shutter. Sounds like this. That's the mechanical shutter. If I turn now to the electronic shutter, the sound is almost the same, because the camera makes an electronic sound for the release moment. So you see, that's a little bit, it's not as loud, but I show you in the next menu, there's a quiet mode where the camera is absolutely quiet if you want to. So let's go back to the mechanical shutter. Here you have the flash, different flash settings for flash modes and flash adjustment, firing mode, TTL and so on. Then we have the red eye removal option, ISO limit set. Here you can set the ISO limit for auto ISO. So if you want to work with auto ISO, here you have the option to set up the highest value which the auto ISO should use. Next one is the auto increments and the extended ISO. What I said before, 125 to 12,800 is the standard ISO setting. If you turn the extended ISO to on, you get down to 80 up to 25,600. Long shutter noise reduction, iZoom, digital zoom, color space, sRGB or Adobe RGB. Stabilizer, we have two different stabilizer modes. This one is the full stabilizer, and this one is only the stabilizer which compensates up and down movement. For what is it good? If you want to take a movie and you want to make a turn like this, it's very important that the camera only eliminates the vibration in this direction and not in this direction, because when you look at your scene, start turning, the camera would try to hold on this point, and then after a while the camera would recognize, oh, I can't do this, and to jump a little bit forward so you don't get a smooth turn. So that's very important to turn off the complete stabilizer and turn it to this stabilizer if you want to take movies, face recognition and profile setup. Next point, the camera, the video setting I show you later. Coming to the next point, these are the custom settings. You have the custom setting menu, a memory, which one is the here on top. There you have different settings. C1 is here, and then you have three different settings for the C2. Silent mode, and if you turn the silent mode to on, the camera automatically changes to the electronic shutter. And now what happens? Nothing. Absolutely silent, so the camera works with the electronic shutter, and all the sounds or all the signals are turned off when you use the silent mode. AFA E-lock, that's what I said before. You can customize this one, so you can decide whether you want only auto exposure, auto focus lock, or a combination of both. And exactly what I said before, here you can change between hold and press and save, or the option hold, and as long as you hold it, the values are saved. If you release the button, the values are gone. Shutter autofocus, half press release. That's a little bit confusing because usually when you work with a camera, you look through the viewfinder on the monitor and you press the button halfway down, and when the camera has focused in the autofocus mode, there comes a beep, and then in the right moment you press the shutter and it makes the picture. If you turn the half press release to on, then it's a little bit confusing because there's no pre-focusing. When you press the button and you're at the point where you usually make the pre-focusing, the camera releases. So there's no pre-focusing, just press the button, and if you're at the first point, the camera makes the picture. So that's a little bit confusing, and I get some letters or some questions from my readers. What's with my camera? I can't pre-focus. Yes, that's the half press release. Quick autofocus, eye sensor autofocus. If you move your eye in front of the sensor, the camera starts to autofocus. Pinpoint, AF time, AF assist lamp, direct focus area, and one important point is the focus release priority. Here you can decide whether you want a release priority or a focus priority. What for is it good? If you make like portrait, landscape, macro, still life, that's very important that you get a clear, crisp, sharp picture. And there the focus priority is important because you only want to release the camera if the focus is perfect on the point, and therefore you need the focus priority. If you make action, sport, your kids, dogs playing around or something like that, it's more important to get the picture. Even if the focus is not perfect on the point, it's better to get the picture, even if it's a little bit unsharp, than to lose a picture. And at this point, you should use the release priority, because if you use the release priority, the camera would release even if the picture is not absolutely sharp. But as I said before, action photography, it's better to get a picture than to lose a picture. Autofocus and manual focus. Then we have the manual focus assistant, where you get the magnifying on the screen if you are working in the manual focus guide. Peaking function. Peaking function is a good help if you work with manual focus. So at hard contrast lines, when the highest contrast is reached, the picture is sharp, and then we get a colorful line at this area, and the camera says, okay, this area is sharp, so that's a real good help for you to manual focus. Histogram, guideline, center marker, highlight setting, zebra patterns. These are settings especially for the video function. Monochrome live view, constant preview, expo meter, dial guide. You can change the different live view styles for the monitor and for the display styles for the monitor, sorry, and for the electronic viewfinder. You have the monitor info display, and one important point is the rec area, because usually when you work with the photo mode, you'll use 3x4 or 1x1 or something like this, and now you can start a video just by pressing the video button here, and what happens? You get the 16:9 format, because full HD is 16:9, so you get the black bars top and bottom, and the picture is a little bit smaller. If you want to know this before, you have to go to the rec area setting and go to movie. If you're in the movie setting, you see we have the black bars on top and bottom just before. If you make a picture, if you make a picture, we get the whole frame. But if you make a movie, you don't have to change, because the movie is still here with the black bars on top and bottom, and you get exactly what you see on your monitor if you start a movie. So this is the difference. These are the different settings between rec area photo and rec area video, remaining photo or video time, auto preview, FN button setting. Here you have the different settings for the FN buttons. You can choose different settings for all the FN buttons here on the camera, and so you can customize the camera absolutely to your needs, also in the play mode. Zoom lever, that's what I showed you before. We have two zoom options. One is here at the shutter, and the other one is here, the dial at the front lens or the dial at the lens, and you can set them both individually. You can say, I want to make normal zoom, or I want to make the zoom stops at the main focal length, or you can make the exposure control on the zoom lever. Manual ring, that's the one here. Also you can change between the different settings, normal and the step zoom, and I show you how the step zoom works. If I here in the step zoom, you see we have the focal length here, and when I turn the dial, when I turn it, nothing happens. Why doesn't... Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. Here we are. When I turn the dial, you see I only have to touch it a little bit, and it stops at the next focal length. So you have like a step zoom. You don't have to turn the dial all the time to get to the next position. And this shows also here on the back side of the camera, when I turn, you see it goes to the next step. You see the focal lengths here for the different settings. So this is the point here at the menu. Zoom resume is, if you turn off the camera, you can decide whether the camera starts at 25 millimeters, or if the camera starts at the last zoom setting, you switch the camera off. That's zoom resume. Quick menu, you have different options to customize the quick menu. Like here, you can customize which button you want, and so you can make the quick menu in a style you like it. Video button on or off. I have the video button on, so I can start the video every time when I press the button. Eye sensor, that's what I said before. Here I can change between the monitor and the electronic viewfinder automatically. So if I move my eye in front of the electronic viewfinder, it switches from the monitor to the viewfinder. So that's the electronic and monitor switch. I turn to monitor because a little bit makes me nervous when I put my finger here and the monitor goes away. So menu guide, and then the next and the last point is the setup menu. I go very fast through the setup menu because only the Wi-Fi point is important, because yes, also the TZ1000 has a Wi-Fi option, as all the newer models from Panasonic, and they have all the same Wi-Fi functions. So if you know one of the camera, you know every, and if you see which options we have the remote shooting and view, where you can remote control the camera completely from your smartphone or your tablet PC. You have the playback on TV, and a very nice point is send image while recording. This works like you take an image and the camera in the background transfer to your smartphone or to your PC or something else, which is with the Wi-Fi connected. And so in the background, the pictures constantly are sent to the device, and you have all the time not only the pictures on the SD card but also on a second device. So that's a real nice option. And if you make still photography, you have the picture directly after you're taking the picture, or macro photography directly after this on your tablet PC or on your computer to control the picture. So therefore it's also a real nice function. Then we have the beeps, we have the live view mode, monitor display, luminance, economy USB mode, TV connection. Yes, there's TV connection and the change between NTSC and PAL. But when you look at a Sony camera, when you change between NTSC and PAL, you get a different video rate. You can change from 50p to 60p. 60p is NTSC, 50p is PAL. With a Panasonic, you can change. You can change between PAL and NTSC, but doesn't matter if you go to the video menu and look here. I go to AVC HD. You see here we have 50p, and now I change to the HDMI mode, to the NTSC mode, sorry, and go back to the video settings, only have 50p. So when you change between PAL and NTSC, there is no change in the recording quality of the video. Menu resume, background, you have some settings for the menu, language, and that's it. So these are the standard settings. Coming back to the different options here on the dial, starting with the scene mode. If you're in the scene mode, you can change the scene mode just here by going up to the scene guide, press OK, and then scene switch. And here we have the different settings, starting with clear portrait and so on. You have lots of settings, sunset, water, nightscape, and here you also find the panorama mode. Normally the panorama mode is on the dial here, but at this camera the panorama mode is in the scene mode. At the TZ61, the travel zoom camera, that's also here in the scene mode, and if you use it now, you see we have the arrow here, so just hold the camera, turn it, and that's it. Now I'm a little bit too slow or too fast. You have to learn it a little bit to move the camera in the right speed, but it's very easy. So these are the scene modes. Coming back to the art filters. Here we have the different art filters you can choose from. See what we have here. So a lot of filters you can use. I like the monochrome and the dynamic monochrome and the rough monochrome. These are my absolutely favorites. High dynamic is also a real nice one. So this is the setting here, art filters. Intelligent automatic, you have to do nothing. The camera makes everything by herself. Scene recognition and. You see it changed now to macro mode if I go very close. So that's the intelligent mode where the camera does everything by herself. Coming to the most important point here, except for the PASM, that's the video mode. And if you're in the video mode, I go to the menu, and here we have the motion picture menu. You see there's no photo menu, only the motion picture menu. Here again we have the photo style, then we have the recording format, and here we have the the two settings, AVC HD and MP4. Going to the AVC HD. In the AVC HD we have the 50p, 50i in different bit rates. The highest one is 28 megabit per second. Looking to the 4K mode, you have to switch to the MP4. That's a little bit confusing because if you change to the MP4, the camera says MP4 best for viewing on PC, but actually 4K is best for viewing on a 4K flat screen or not on a PC. So, but you have to change to the MP4 mode, and then at the record quality, yes, we have the 4K mode with 3840 by 2160 pixel, and the only speed is 24 pictures per second, and this gives you a bitrate of 100 megabits per second. So there's no other option, no 50p, 30p or anything else. It's only 25p at the 4K mode. You also have the different HD settings, full HD setting also in the MP4 mode. But the most important is the 4K setting. You have the different exposure mode settings, PASM for sure. You can manually set the aperture and the shutter speed, or you can work in the P mode, high speed movie, AFS, AFF mode you can change. Continuous autofocus is one thing which is very important if you want that the camera follows the objects in your scene. Metering mode, highlight shadow, again what you have also in the photo mode you have here in the video mode, eye dynamic, eye resolution, luminance level, 2 different settings, eye zoom, digital zoom, microphone level display. You can show the microphone level here on the display, I'll show you later, and you can adjust the microphone level if you want to do it by yourself. So these are the different options in the video mode, and here we see the microphone level display. One important thing I said before, that's the microphone jack, and another important thing is, and that's I wondered why the other Panasonic cameras like the G6 and the GX7 doesn't have this, is the HDMI output. We have here at the side the remote jack, we have the HDMI and the USB multi-connector. And when you look to the G6 and GX7 of Panasonic, they don't have the live HDMI output not. So if you want to use an external monitor, it's not possible because there's no live out. And the FZ1000 has an HDMI live output. And that's a very good option, because if you want to work with this camera in the 4K mode, it's very difficult in the 4K mode to see if the picture is really clear, if it's sharp. You need to have a bigger monitor than the screen here on the back side, and therefore it's very good when you work like in a studio, or if you want to make a little bit more quality videos, then it's very good to put on an external monitor, even if it's only a monitor in this size, but it gives you much more control of the picture, and so that's very good that the FZ1000 has an HDMI live output. I like this one very much because I miss this at the GX7 and the G6 very much. And hopefully the next series of mirrorless cameras from Panasonic has also the HDMI live output. One limitation, the longest video can take is 29 minutes and 59 seconds, so you don't get over the 30 minutes in one continuous video, but I think that's not a real limitation, because usually you make videos not as long as this, because you make small chapters and combine them to the complete movie. So these are the most important things. One thing I should mention, because if you look to the advertising or the information of the FZ1000 in the internet, Panasonic says that they have 5 different zoom speeds. And I thought, oh, that's very good, because if I want to make a movie and I want to make a zoom in or zoom out, I need a very, very slow and precise zoom. Usually I make a ring here on the zoom ring with a lever at the side, so I can turn it very, very slow and make a real precise, slow zoom in or zoom out. If I use zoom, I know the pros don't use zoom, but sometimes it's also a choice to use the zoom. So I said, okay, that's really good, 5 different speed, that's perfect. But honestly, I didn't find it. I checked the menu, there is no point where I can change the zoom speed. I checked the manual, there I didn't find anything to change the zoom speed, and I looked in the internet, and so I didn't find information how to change the zoom speed. If you find the option, please write it in the comments here, because I would love to integrate it in my test on Ralfs Foto-Bude for the FZ1000, but honestly I didn't find it. I looked very, very careful. I didn't find any option to change the zoom speed, even for the lever here on the shutter release button, or for the dial here. The only option I found is the step zoom, and if you don't use the step zoom, I don't know if the step zoom is still in action. Give me a look here. I turn off the step zoom. No, step zoom is off, and I can show you if I turn the dial here very slow, you see, even if I make it very, very slow, you see there are some steps. And if I do it a little bit faster, the zoom works continuously, but too fast. It goes too fast in between the focal length, and so I didn't find it. Maybe I have overseen it, so give me an advice if you find it. That would be very pleasant. That's the new flagship of the super zoom cameras. I like this one very much. Talking about the quality, honestly, I don't have a 4K monitor. I only have a Retina MacBook where I can check the 4K quality of the video, and I think it's a really good quality. I compared it to the full HD quality. Yes, it's a little bit more detailed, it's a little bit more precise. But one thing, 24 pictures per second, it's not for action and sport. If you want to do this, you have to have a little bit more frame rate, like 50p, and then you have to use the full HD mode. But 4K is a real nice mode, and I like this one very much. Picture quality is good. Talking about the picture quality in photography, this is also good. The bigger sensor, 1-inch sensor, gives you a real good picture quality also in the high ISO settings. Please go to my Flickr account. You will find the address here under the video. Please go to my Flickr account, and there you will see the different ISO settings, or the different ISO pictures of the camera, and so you can compare it directly, and you will see the picture quality directly on my Flickr account. You can download the picture and compare it to other cameras. That's it. That's the FZ1000. No touchscreen, that's the only thing I miss, but all over a real nice package, and I think the first 4K video camera in the consumer class, as I said before, GH4, also from Panasonic, much more expensive, and the Sony Alpha 7S, also much more expensive, mirrorless cameras. Okay, they have a little bit more options, but I think for a consumer camera in this price range and in this size, the Lumix is a very, very good choice, and you get a real good camera with a real good lens, a good zoom range. Yes, and so I like this one very much, and I think that's a real good camera, and I think it will sell very good in the next few months. Hope you enjoyed my review of the Panasonic FZ1000. If so, please give me a like here on my YouTube channel, subscribe my YouTube channel, and if you want to support me, it would be nice if you buy your stuff on an Amazon link here under my video, because you support my video channel and you support Ralfs Foto-Bude and my future work So I would say thank you if you do so, and as always I say bye and moin moin.